Okay. Welcome back, everyone. I'd like to call the regular board meeting of the Board of Acupuncture to order. It's 2:18. And I'd like to take roll. Do I have to go this good?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, bear with me. It's time to go.
Yes,
Get us.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna welcome everyone to the Board of Acupuncture meeting. Before we get started, we're going to play a short video to provide you with instructions on how to access the meeting virtually.
Welcome to the Professional and Vocational Licensing Virtual Board Meeting.
When the meeting begins momentarily, the chair will take a roll call, explain any specific rules for this particular board, and then move to public comment. The name of the board member will appear on the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. For instance, this is board member Y, and this is board member E. Public testimony will be accepted at the beginning of the meeting and before each agenda item. You can indicate that you are ready to testify by clicking on the Raise Hand button being circled by the mouse on your screen now. At the appropriate time, the board will recognize you to speak and ask you to unmute your mic as shown here. Again, public testimony will be accepted at the beginning of the meeting and before each agenda item. Public attendees will not be able to unmute their microphone until recognized by the board. Public attendees who are recognized to testify will be asked to identify themselves by name and their affiliated organization if applicable. Please mute your microphone when you are finished speaking as a courtesy to others and members of the board. Public attendees will not be able to unmute themselves after the testimony is completed unless recognized again after raising their hand. At some point during the meeting, the board may choose to move into executive session. When the board moves into executive session, the board members' microphones and video feeds will be turned off, and a similar screen as you see now will be displayed. When the board returns from executive session, their microphones will be turned on as well as their video cameras.
Welcome again to the Professional and Vocational Licensing Virtual Board Meeting.
At this time, the chair will call the meeting to order and take a roll call, as well as explain any additional rules that may be specific to this board.
If you wish to submit written testimony on any agenda item, please email your testimony to acupuncture@dcca.hawaii.gov or by hard copy mail to the Acupuncture's P.O. Box in Honolulu. We request submission of testimony at least 24 hours prior to the meeting to ensure that it can be distributed to board members. Internet access. To view the meeting and provide live oral testimony, please use the link at the top of the agenda. You will be asked to enter your name. The board requests that you enter your full name, but you may use a pseudonym or other identifier if you wish to remain anonymous. You will also be asked for an email address. You may fill in this field with any entry in an email format. name@provider.com. Your microphone will be automatically muted. When the chairperson asks for public testimony, you may click the raise hand button found on your Zoom screen to indicate that you wish to testify about that agenda item. The chairperson will individually enable each testifier to unmute their microphone. When recognized by the chairperson, please unmute your microphone before speaking and mute your microphone after you finish speaking. Phone access. If you cannot get internet access, you may get audio-only access by calling the Zoom phone number listed at the top of the agenda. Upon dialing the number, you will be prompted to enter the meeting ID, which is also listed at the top of the agenda. After entering the meeting ID, you will be asked to either enter your panelist number or wait to be admitted to the meeting. You will not have a panelist number, so please wait until you are admitted into the meeting. When the chairperson asks for public testimony, you may indicate you want to testify by entering star and then 9 on your phone's keypad. After entering star 9, a voice prompt will let you know that the host of the meeting has been notified. When recognized by the chairperson, you may unmute yourself by pressing star and then 6 on your phone. A voice prompt will let you know that you are unmuted. Once you are finished speaking, please enter star and then 6 again to mute yourself. For both internet and phone access, when testifying, you will be asked to identify yourself and the organization, if any, that you represent. Each testifier will be limited to 5 minutes of testimony per agenda item. If connection to the meeting is lost for more than 30 minutes, the meeting will be continued on a specified date and time. This information will be provided on the board's website. Instructions to attend State of Hawaii virtual board meetings may be found online, also on the website. The board may move into executive session to consider and evaluate personal information relating to individuals applying for licensure in accordance with Hawaii Revised Statutes, Section 92-5A1, and to consult with the board's attorney on questions and issues pertaining to the board's powers, duties, privileges, immunities, and liabilities in accordance with Hawaii Revised Statutes, Section 92-5A4. I'd like to take roll call, please. Dr. Deborah McMenemy here.
Marta Rebella here.
Dr. Brooke Foreman here.
Dr. Sherry Mizumoto here.
Thank you. Okay, there's 4 of us. We have a quorum. Now I call the meeting to order.
You did earlier.
Okay.
Never mind.
Okay. The first agenda item. Everybody have any comments they'd like to make about agenda item number 2?
Yes, I'd like to note, there should be a correction on the open session minutes, page 4. The date that it was completed, right underneath the page number. Sorry, that was from a prior meeting.
Okay.
The date of completion was September 6, 2024. Simple typo.
Any other comments? For my meeting minutes?
I move that we adopt the minutes as revised.
A second. All those in favor? Aye. Okay, agenda item number 3, application. Oh, I thought we did it both together.
Did we?
Should I do a separate?
They can be together if you folks are. Were you voting on them all together?
Yes, I was. Sure. Sure, too. Okay, all right. Okay, number 3, applications, ratifications for acupuncturists. Any comments about that? Any testimony?
Thank you, Chair. This is Johnny. We do not have anyone requesting to provide testimony.
Thank you.
The ratification.
Yeah, there's that.
Would you mind reading the names of the ratified?
Sure. Acupuncturist Joan Y. Mack, Ree Anna Gale, Sarah Catherine Johnson, Dong P. Shin, and Dong H. Chung. No permits at this time.
I move that we ratify those listed on our agenda.
As read.
As read, yes.
I second.
All those in favor? Aye.
I.
Unanimous. Okay. All right, new business. A is the discussion of the November 20th, 2024 public hearing for proposed amendments to Title 16, Chapter 72, Hawaii Administrative Rules and consideration of adoption of proposed rule. Anybody have comments, testimony they want to give?
Thank you, Chair. We do not have anyone requesting to provide testimony.
So we had a couple of issues come up in the testimony that was given at the public hearing. We'll maybe talk about each one individually. Okay, So the dietitian concerns. Where? This one. So their concern was under our definitions. So 72-5. Under acupuncture medicine, also known as traditional Chinese medicine, traditional Oriental medicine, East Asian, Kampo is a practice that identifies the pattern of disharmony in each patient and then builds an individualized treatment plan. It includes the practice of acupuncture with adjunctive therapies, including but not limited to manual, mechanical, electrical, light, sound, electromagnetic, thermal therapy, herbal, and nutraceutical medicine. And their comment was about the lifestyle and nutritional counseling. And then there's movement and other traditional and modern techniques. I had jotted down the term that they used that I kind of liked, and it was dietary therapy in relation to traditional Chinese medicine. Which I think is easy to just kind of plug in there, and define it that we're not crossing lines.
So should we align or make consistent? You have a definition for lifestyle and dietary consult, but in the definition of acupuncture medicine, you call it lifestyle and nutritional counseling. So if you're should we make that consistent and saying in the definition of acupuncture medicine, instead of lifestyle and nutritional counseling, to lifestyle and dietary consult? Then we'll be consistent with that definition.
The lifestyle and dietary consult. Well, did they have an issue with that phrase
Well,
also?
You don't have that phrase in your definition of acupuncture medicine, so it might be good to make it consistent.
Definitely, but I'm just not sure what phrase should be consistent, because I kind of heard that lifestyle and dietary consult they took issue with, as well as lifestyle and nutritional counseling. Did anybody else hear that?
No, their letter doesn't even say that.
So in their testimony, they stated the Hawaii Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. The statute doesn't reference lifestyle and nutritional counseling or any related scope of practice. Under the board's definition of lifestyle and dietary consult would encompass traditional nutritional therapy concepts of food as medicine, emphasizing food character with balanced consumption, and would include herbal and nutritional supplements, environmental factors, meditation, movement, and exercise. So I'm not clear as to whether they're opposing that lifestyle and dietary consult as well, but they further go on to say that they don't oppose providing general nutritional guidance not intended to treat specific medical condition. So referencing to nutritional counseling and food administration appears to suggest that licensed acupuncturists would be authorized to practice medical nutrition therapy. They are still do that.
Well, that gets pretty deep.
I think that that is what we learn in school, is that, and we base diagnosis with that. We recommend foods based on that. Based on these patterns, we do medical nutrition for these people. And that's part of our board certifications, 4 of them. Well, 3 in this state, but 4 usually.
So which
So how do you feel about lifestyle and nutritional counseling in relation to traditional Chinese medicine?
Well, I guess I'm worried about us adding words and then going back to the drawing board. My big vote is to say yes and go forward.
Yeah, yes to what?
Yes to the way it is.
So now you're making the definition and the consistent.
So what she's,
Well,
you folks see what she's talking
Yeah,
about,
we
right?
do. The consistency is, I think, a given. We need to make it consistent.
So she's.
But we're trying
which
to
one do we wanna
decide
do?
which,
So
what.
do you want to stick with lifestyle and dietary consults? Or do you want
Or
to,
lifestyle and
or
nutrition.
lifestyle and nutritional counseling?
Guidance. Use guidance instead of
Because, only because they're
Lifestyle
two
and-
different ways, the same document.
Yeah.
So
So
we're just trying to-
lifestyle and dietary guidance is what you're suggesting? And then does that fit with the other
Well, she says in their letter, they say,
lifestyle and?
do not oppose licensed acupuncturists providing general nutritional guidance.
So consult means Webster Dictionary, the action or process of formally consulting or discussing. Consult, okay?
Instead of guidance.
And then counseling. Advice, especially given formally.
Would you folks like to stay with lifestyle and nutritional counseling since as part of your practice, you advise on,
I prefer dietary. Sure, why?
So
Yeah,
the dietary
dietary.
consult,
Pardon me?
are you saying you prefer lifestyle and dietary consult?
Or guidance or counseling, I'm
Is
not
the-
stuck on one of those, but nutritional. Don't feel like speaks exactly to what I do. I feel like dietary is more of a. What we do.
So guidance
Taught.
says advice or information aimed at resolving a problem or difficulty,
That's guidance.
especially is given by someone in authority.
Which one was that?
That's guidance.
So how about lifestyle and dietary guidance to both of them so that it's
The guidance
consistent?
Consult.
They need to be consistent with each
Yeah,
other.
yeah, yeah.
Here. Yes, Wilo? Did I see that?
Yeah, I think dietary consult is good.
Good one?
Lifestyle and dietary
Guidance,
guidance.
consult,
What we have here?
Lifestyle and dietary consult.
Counseling.
Or
did you
counseling.
all say the same thing?
What's it counseling?
Which one was it?
Consult.
Well, at least we get the first part,
Lifestyle.
Lifestyle and dietary. because then it takes out nutritional, which
Yeah.
probably the
so you
nutritionist.
do have your second one on page 72-9. It's lifestyle and dietary consult.
Yeah, we're trying to
It
decide
says,
if we like.
like that, we
Same.
can just put that into the definition of
Okay.
acupuncture medicine.
Good for me.
Lifestyle
Make it
and
slippery and make it go in there.
dietary
Lifestyle.
consult.
Well, at least now it's consistent.
Yes, consistency, like that.
And then you wanted to incorporate as it relates to traditional Chinese
No,
medicine
I don't think so.
in the definition of lifestyle and dietary consult.
No, I did not get that from the group. So no, we would just leave it. So changing it to lifestyle and dietary consult in both places.
I get pose a question, because I sort of heard their testimony as being objectionable to the word dietary and less to nutrition. I don't know, anybody else heard that?
I thought it was
No.
nutritional.
You thought it was nutrition? Okay, then that's, yeah. Because nutrition is the act of, the sum of processes by which an animal or plant takes in and utilizes food for them. And dietary is, related specifically to food, and nutrition seems to encompass more, so.
Well, I feel like it speaks to what I was taught.
Yeah, in school, we have the Chinese dietary therapy.
Right,
Okay. Right.
okay.
Yes.
I got that one down. Okay, and the next big one is requiring the diplomat of Oriental medicine instead of as it is the diplomat of acupuncture. Well, I guess we don't require the diplomat of acupuncture. We just require they take the 3 tests, but you're automatically given the other one, so. I can't believe this. Do you know what page that was on? Oh, here it is. 7226. So the administered by the National Certification Board of Acupuncture Medicine testing agency necessary to obtain a diploma of Oriental medicine or its equivalent. We've got 2 or 3 feedbacks on that one. Rick, would you like to?
Here. Again, my vote is to keep it as is, get it through, and then when we come back around to make the appeal, then we design it the way that we really want it to be separated. As we were talking about the tattoo artists that did their specialty thing from the cosmetologist. Because I think that if we go in and muddy the water by doing that, then it might require more words, which starts us back at 0 to explain it. And so my thought is, I'm not against having a diplomat of acupuncture for the state of Hawaii. I'm not against that. I want to get this through, and then we go back and design it the way that we want it cut out.
I don't know that it's possible for us to do that because herbalism is not. It's not a thing. It's not a licensing. So to pull it apart and say, okay, we're gonna have a certification for this, I mean, I don't know that that's in our bailiwick to make it certifiable thing. What do you guys think?
Sorry.
So herbalism is not a regulated thing. So we can't take it and turn it into a certification program that people need to practice.
By itself.
Is that what you were suggesting? I was thinking of like how you were doing the cosmetology thing.
Well, I think what Chris was saying, by itself, like we don't license the herbal in the herbal shops, but licensed acupuncturists who in their training have been practicing this to supplement their acupuncture, right? It's part of the traditional Chinese medicine that they've been performing. And if it's licensed with that, then it can be licensed. I think
So, yeah.
right? But we don't currently license
You know,
just.
to regulate.
But
So
as a supplement to, that's because that's also performed in traditional Chinese medicine. And acupuncture is performed traditional Chinese medicine. It can be licensed that way.
Okay, but
So like
Part
it's
of it
legal
that-
for us to include it here, to require it as part of an acupuncture license.
Yeah, it could be, yeah.
But
Yeah.
separating it, I think is not.
it says here, accredited acupuncture program means professional program in acupuncture and herbal medicine that was accredited or recognized as a candidate for accreditation. So it's part of your definition.
This is my point, is that if we go in and change it now, then we got a whole nother can of worms of going through and taking out herbal out of every single thing in this document. And my personal vote would be to just get it through, and then we go back and make the changes once the document actually lives.
So the thing is, like, you don't wanna pass bad law, so if it's already unclear at this point. Don't wanna have it where we allow, or we're gonna mandate this and then we're gonna retract it, cause that's even harder. Where we can edit it. Or take it out in general, so that's where we're at.
I totally understand that.
Yes, I think, the word Oriental medicine, you can just strike out and just put acupuncture, diplomate of acupuncture, right? And then later on, or its equivalence as determined by the board. Later on, the board can create a separate certification on herbal medicine if, if the state requires that. But I don't see, right now that the consumer is,
At risk.
yeah, because you have Chinatown people, the state auditor came and asked me, should we regulate herbal medicine? And I told the state auditor, it is very difficult to administer herbal medicine and regulate it because the FDA already say herbal medicine is a supplement, a food supplement itself. It's hard to regulate that way, not like drugs or things like that. But maybe in the future when the FDA or, the federal people want to regulate Chinese medicine herbs as a drug, then it's a different story, right? So now my recommendation is cross out Oriental medicine, just put acupuncture, diploma of acupuncture. They pass the 3 tests first, get licensed, and then later on, we can do a separate certification. If you want to practice herbs, you need to get certification.
So you're saying that if we change it to diplomat of acupuncture, that they are not authorized to practice herbs?
Well, if they have the training, okay, this is the dilemma, right? Sometime, I think in the East Coast especially, right? The acupuncturists, right, are forbidden to prescribe herbs. Forbidden, because in their law, they say it's not in there. So what the acupuncturists do, right, even in their school training they will acupuncture the patient on one side, right? And then next door, they open a herbal pharmacy and they just write a prescription and they tell the patient, go next door, my employee will pick up the formula for you. Because as acupuncturist, I can't give you the herbs, because it's unregulated.
Alabama, Oklahoma, South Dakota do not have any license or registration requirements for herbal medicine.
Hawaii doesn't.
I mean, there's the two-edged sword here. I am for, I'm speaking now is because of the students. In future, we want to have more of the consumer thinking that we're practicing acupuncture and the trend and so forth, the practical part of it. But looking at it, if you want to put Oriental medicine in, is another way to stop people from other states to come here to practice. So many states, right? Many states only require taking 3 tests to be licensed, right? So if you require all the 4 tests, right, that means they cannot be licensed here. They cannot be licensed here, right? Which is good for a practitioner, less competition, right? Less competition, but not good for the consumer because then you don't have enough practitioner to give them the services. So it's a two-way sword. I'm fine with either way, I'm fine with either way, but on the student side, right? They have to work so hard to pass all four tests before they get licensed, right?
I get it. This right here is the state or the United States of who will requires the herbs. And the green states are the ones that require herbs.
Okay,
So even though it seems like, everyone's doing it, it is not the case. The rest of the United States, with the exception of a handful.
Everyone's doing it. That's great.
I think maybe 5 or 6 states require herbs, right? Most of them, I
No,
think, don't need
these-
herbs.
See the green on there? That's all of the ones that require herbs.
For licensure,
Yes.
I don't think so.
I'm on the NCCAOM site.
I think Tuesday's on here, she could probably speak to that.
Yeah, how many % of the state require herbs?
But I would like to make a statement if I may, break in and low.
Online people that have raised their hands before you.
Okay, sure.
We have Joni Kroll.
Okay.
Hey, Joni.
Hi there. Unable to start
Hi.
video. Okay. My video is stopped, but let's see. Don't know why. Anyway. Oh, now you can see me. Hi, everybody. So
Hi.
hey guys, I'm Dr. Joni Kroll, former chair of the board, served on the board for 8 years, worked on this process for 8 years, and appreciate everybody's effort that has gone into it. And I do want Tuesday Wasserman to speak to how many states do require it. But of course, this is something we've bantered around many, many times. And I do understand from a student perspective, I graduated in 1989. There was no herbal exam. We learned herbs, we practiced herbs, but we were never examined on it. And the reason that when I was part of the board that we said we should be examined is because acupuncturists are doing it. We are learning it. Even if you choose later not to practice it as much, it is part of our medicine. And to not be licensed, not be examined in something that you are going to be doing is a risk to the public. And I think that there would be acupuncturists out there who would be practicing herbs because it's in our scope of practice without having the examination for it. And that to me is very concerning, why we should have the NCCM exam in herbs required. I'm not licensed in it. If I let my license lapse and had to reapply, then I would have to meet these new requirements. But there would be grandfathering for all of those who haven't, and there could be plenty of time put into place so that any new students would know that as they're entering the program. So my input, for what it's worth, is that we should definitely keep the herbal exam as part of the new requirements for licensure. Thank you.
Yeah.
I thought it was already in.
Is there anybody else online?
And then Tuesday Wasserman.
Okay. Your turn.
I have a hard time with this because I totally empathize with the students. I really understand that, especially if their inclination is that they're not going to practice herbs. And I do understand that it is unregulated here in the state of Hawaii. However, our medicine is much broader than just needles. And I think that if we look back to what we're revising today, almost a quarter of a century later, that last rules were revised in 2020. I don't want to look back and think, oh, it was a mistake that we didn't require herbs, that we're just creating a lack of testing for knowledge that was more required now than it was 24 years ago when we wrote the last version of rules, because we have so many more drugs now, so much chemotherapy, so many other things, people taking other things, that they really need to understand the implications of herbs that they're prescribing or supplements they're prescribing. That I think it's really important, and I do empathize with the students that, have to take it. I did take it back then because I didn't want to practice herbs, but for those acupuncturists that are believe that they will not practice herbs, I do believe that at some point in time, they're going to have a patient within their practice that they're going to require to go access that database of herbal knowledge that they have to treat that patient properly. So I am in support of keeping it in with, apologies for the students for having to take the test, but they do need to know, this information.
Are you guys not tested on it now? Because it is in your scope right now.
In Hawaii,
In the general, the exams that are required
in
now.
Hawaii, we are not tested on it.
That exists, but we don't. require it.
So no questions on herbal medicine in the exams that we require now.
No.
Not in the current. That was 25 years ago.
But in the proposed one, they would have to take all the exams.
Yeah.
So that's the four, but it includes the.
Which
No,
is
they only
what
have
we've
to
been
be
working for
Right.
25 years to try.
So because it's already in your scope, right, under traditional oriental medicine, but you're saying that the current exams don't even touch upon it.
So then it gets slippery also in the dietary thing because herbs and supplements are what are part of our definition. And then if we take out knowing herbs, then now what? Do we take that whole thing out too? That we're not doing nutritional counseling or consult? Because those are herbs and supplements.
Necessarily. Food.
But you see how it could be semantics there of like, this is what we're talking about in the whole document is our scope of Chinese medicine. If this was a whole thing on acupuncture only, I could totally get behind that, but it isn't. This, I don't want to dilute our medicine in any way. So I am for keeping it in, like our former president that worked for how many years? 16 years? I don't know how many years she's done this, but I'm also with Joni on that too.
So that exam is 16 years old already, that herbal exam?
No,
It's at least
modules, right?
14.
You have the modules, they have the four exams, is that what it is? And they have to take 3 in this state?
Yeah.
In this state.
Yeah, but some states require all 4, is that how? it-
Yeah, remember the green?
The green one,
Well, we're
okay.
gonna hear from Tuesday.
Because you said that she's been working on it for 18 years or 16 years, so that fourth module is available 16 years ago.
Correct.
No.
No.
How long have they?
Wait a second, I graduated 2010.
No, Joan, I think what,
I don't know how long
This is-
Joni can tell us how long she's.
you're referring to the board, she's referring to modules. The modules
Yeah. Exam
are
modules.
revised continually to reflect what all the schools, national schools are testing. So NCCOM integrates with all the schools, what are you testing? And we just actually had a jobs analysis review where we got feedback on what they were learning, what they kept, and we had over 5,000 respondents, which was phenomenal. And we have data that supports what they're learning, what they're testing in terms of acupuncture and herbs. So all of our modules are updated regularly to reflect what's being taught in the schools.
Okay, so I'm just
So
wondering,
if I may, in the beginning, right, the NCCOM has one big comprehensive exam, right, 20-something years ago, one big exam. Then they split them out, right, into acupuncture and foundations. Then later they put acupuncture with point location and foundations. That was mostly what states used to license if they passed that 2 exams. And then later on, they included another module, which is the biomedicine module, that most of the state now require to. So they have 3 exams now. And then later on, they add another one, which is herbal medicine module. So they make 4 modules, right?
so when did they add that herbal medicine module?
When did
I
they?
think in about 2004.
Okay, so.
Somewhere.
They had time.
Yeah.
And then what happens is that they also have a module called body work, but they disregard that already, right?
Well, that's because we're not massage therapists.
Yeah, but NCCY has a certification in body work,
Yeah.
like
But that was really.
yeah, Chinese body work,
Yeah.
Tuina,
Or
you know.
shiatsu. or-
Yeah, so they also have that. So they have different modules, right? Then what happened was that to be certified and call yourself diplomat, you need to pass the 3 exams. And in Oriental medicine, you need to pass the 4th one, right? The 4th exam. So my take on this, right? If you put Oriental medicine there, right? You know, in the future, right? If NCCOM sorry about this. If NCCOM going to add more modules to be certified in Oriental medicine, right? So there's talk now, they're going to certify injection therapy. And if injection therapy is another separate certification within NCCOM that will be combined into certification in OM, that means the student has to take 5 exams. So my take is that, you know, we just do acupuncture now and then add on when you need to add on. Because I don't see adding the herbal medicine right now, right, would be how should I say, because the consumer already doing what they're doing, coming to acupuncturists for consult and herbal treatment. So herbal treatment is very safe in our words, like that. There's not much
But
adverse
unregulated.
effect, but it's unregulated.
Yeah.
Because why is it unregulated? Because it's very safe. If there is adverse effect, then you have to regulate, right? If it is, well, you know, you agree with this principle, right? Why we regulate acupuncture? Because before, right, people got injured from poking needle, and that's why you regulate. Now, you know, the FDA already say herbal medicine is a food supplement, right? You can regulate it now. Be careful what you ask for later on. If you have some complaints from the consumer saying that, okay, acupuncturist or whoever give you herbs, then come to the board, right? Because they have a complaint now. Then RACO will come in and say, something happened to some prescription herbs and something happened, then what you guys going to do? You can't tell them that, oh, this guy is not an acupuncturist. This is a lay person, have a herb shop. You know, this person is not regulated. He has a herb shop. He's not licensed in acupuncture. And that the state auditor already went through that, went to Chinatown, you
So
know.
do you think it's better that we remain unregulated so that we have
No,
people going out there being untested and
No, no.
uncertified,
Well-
prescribing herbs?
Well, you know, here we go. You regulate us as acupuncturists, right? You know, and then you create another certification if they want to choose to do herbal medicine. Just like the naturopathic doctors, they have another certification for their formulary prescription for those who want to be a midwife, for example, right? There's a separate certification. You guys can create that later on, right? After you
So-
create.
Because this process was so easy.
Right, so why don't we do a separate
Well, I'm talking
certification for
about-
diet lifestyle?
I'm
You know,
talk-
because
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
separate too.
So you can.
No, that was a joke.
So-
That was
If you're gonna cherry pick, if you're gonna cherry pick, all right, then you in the future, you have the certification in injection therapy, and then another certification in Chinese dietary therapy, another certification in Tuina, and all the scope, you have all the certification.
This is exactly why we're getting cherry picked now, Wiley. This is
Right.
exactly why. So we need to embrace the medicine.
Did you folks, you several times had asked to let Ms.
Yes.
Wasserman speak. Would you like to?
Yes.
Okay, we're gonna promote you, Ms. Wasserman, so that you can,
Thank you so much. I appreciate, and I'm here. Do you guys want video on or off?
on is great, thank you.
Hey, I remember how hard this is. I did it in my state. I'm in Colorado. I'm a doctor of acupuncture and Chinese medicine, and I sat on my state board for years. And I appreciate all of you because I know how hard this is and how much you give. But I'm here. I just want to say one of the last things that the FDA does regulate herbs for the last 30 years under the DCCA Act. And that's true. And it is because there are safety issues with herbal medicine, especially when it comes to drug-herb interactions. And that's why the certification in herbal medicine exists. There is a difference between certificate and certification. So NCCAOM offers the certificate for injection therapy, which is it's for licensed practitioners to demonstrate safety in something they're not taught in schools. It's not covered under ACOM, under the requirements for schools to teach it. So that's why it's separate. Because everything else, like Dr. Tuchiyama was saying, the NCCAOM exams, they're reflective of what schools are teaching. So they do a job task analysis every 5 to 7 years, see what people are teaching, and then the exams reflect what's being taught in the schools and what people are practicing. And I'm sorry, I can't see you guys, but I know someone mentioned the map. So if you're on nccaom.org and /advocacy regulatory state relations, and you see the green, and you can see that there's the certification. And so there's acupuncture certification, and then there's oriental medicine certification. And when you look at Dr. Lowe is right, there are only a handful of states that require OM certification to practice herbs. So that's California, Nevada, New Mexico, Florida, and I hope I'm not missing any, but I know of those handful. But then when you see the asterisks where they say acupuncture certification isn't required, however, the passage of Chinese herbology exam is required to practice herbs, or Chinese herbology or Oriental medicine certification is required. So you can see all the states with asterisks, and then we have more than 10 states. You have Vermont, Massachusetts, New Jersey, the District of Columbia, Ohio, Illinois, in addition to all those states that require examination in herbology in order to practice. And so, and I don't want to mess with your Practice Act because you've worked so hard, but what I hear Dr. Lowe saying is this tiered certification. And when you look at those states with asterisks, that's what they've done. They've said practitioners who don't want to practice herbs, they can't practice herbs if they don't have the examination. But if you do want to practice herbal medicine, you need the examination. And then you have states that have done, like Florida is the best example, closest to what you're doing, where it requires the OM certification, but it's grandfathered in. So everyone now can practice, and moving forward requires that certification. And then it joins the ranks of OM certification with those handful of states that do require all 4 modules to keep the medicine intact. And I think that answers all the questions you were talking about, but please advise if there was anything I missed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Where do we go from here?
It's up to you folks. If you want to keep it, or if you want to.
I make a motion to keep it.
I second the motion.
We're not voting
Yeah,
just
we're
yet.
Okay.
An informal.
Yeah, informal, so you wanna keep
Okay.
it?
I say keep it too. I say drop it. Sherry keeps it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or if I may, if the compromise would be certification, here, diploma of acupuncture and certification in herbal biology.
That's 4 modules.
Yeah, it's fine, but don't put the oriental medicine in there.
So we can't,
Just
we
put,
can't add to this without starting all over again. So we can take away, but we can't add like a
Substantive.
certificate of
Yeah.
herbal.
If
to
I
prac-
may, Dr. Lowe, that would be much more expensive to students. So the certificate in herbal medicine is different than the certificate of OM. So if you want all 4, you would have the certification in acupuncture or the certificate in certification in OM. But if you just do the certificate in herbology, it's more expensive to students to separate them, and it's really intended to be a whole package, and it's more affordable to students to keep it that way, is my understanding.
Make a quick statement.
Yes.
I think that the one thing that we need to definitely look at, because we know how long it takes to get revised rules out, is the future, in the sense that I think there are going to be a lot more companies and a lot more employers of acupuncture, of acupuncturists, that will require OM certification, because that's actually happening now. because they want practitioners who have the full package and not the partial package. That's, I think, a requirement, and Tuesday could probably speak to this better about VA requirement. I think the DOD is looking at it, and they require that certification. So I understand it's a problem now for current students, but I think that for future work and gainful employment and all of that competition within the ranks and knowing, keeping the patients safe, while they understand whatever new drug they're taking or Ozempic or whatever, that they can perform safely. So I think we need to look to the future for this, since it'll probably be another 20 years before we get to revive.
So, the extra certification, I mean, licensure is one thing. If employers wanna, require extra certification, that's up to them, right? So we're talking about like,
Of course, but yeah.
so if the board is going to decide to keep the herbal medicine exam as a requirement, I think you need to look at, 1672-20, because the proposed language, it looks like you're creating 3 different exams, like licensure, so there's acupuncture, or acupuncture and herbal medicine, or using the acupuncture title, the doctorate.
Where's that at?
Page 72.
72-19.
Which one is it?
16, under application. So if you're gonna keep the requirement for the exam, maybe instead of creating a separate one for acupuncture and herbal medicine, just put acupuncture and herbal medicine, or wishing to use any acupuncture title that we use to exam. Because anybody who applies for the acupuncture and herbal medicine, I mean, going forward, they're gonna have to take the exam anyway, right? And come together. But
Right, and that could be a fight later.
tying it together, it's different from the separate shops who are unlicensed, because now it's acupuncture and herbal medicine together, rather than just, it's not a standalone, like Donna was trying to explain earlier.
Yes.
So should that one say every person seeking a license to practice acupuncture and herbal medicine?
Yeah.
So strike the acupuncture or.
Yeah.
Good catch.
72-20.
Yeah,
Yes.
section 16-72-20. Letter A. Every person seeking a license to practice.
It's gonna just, practice acupuncture and herbal medicine, or wishing to use any acupuncture title.
Oh,
Yeah, we got it.
Yeah.
yeah.
You guys are good with that.
So it seems like the consensus is we're leaving it diplomat of Oriental medicine.
Then if I may, Chair, if in the future, right, NCCOM say we're going to add on injection therapy to the certification of OM, then that means
We
they
start
have to do
over.
another one?
That's, then we start over.
I
And
think you need statutory authority for the injection, and so that was another discussion that Crystal is gonna have with the board. Because right now, we couldn't find any statutory authority to allow the acupuncture injection therapy.
What about the email that I sent you all? Arguments on that.
What you were pointing out was, you referenced something that you were inserting in these new rules, right? The, definition and saying that it's a class 2 medical device. But that exists only in the new rules. It doesn't exist in the statute. So what we're trying to do is your statute has to provide you with the authority. to
But
do
the
that.
statute just says inserting needles.
And it doesn't have anything to do with injecting. And now you're injecting something into the muscle or into the wherever. Through a point, what is it? Thank you. That's why we couldn't find anything in the statute that allows for that.
I also brought up the point that the 436D, the statutes that were before this one had it specifically in there. Does anybody know why it was dropped?
Way in the back, in the old days, because the MDs were exempted from this law.
So we gave up the injection part of it?
Yeah. Back then, when the MDs are able to do acupuncture, it was in that old law.
During that time, she can speak to that too.
Joni's hand is up
Yeah.
too.
Both of them.
Yeah.
Okay to let Joni speak.
What else are we doing? Anything else to discuss on
Yeah.
that?
Oh, Joni's
Not
having.
done with the.
We have
Sorry.
two.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
For some reason, my video is not working. Oh, there it is again. Okay, so there was a sunset evaluation report on acupuncture done on January 6th, 1984, in which they reviewed our statute and determined that aquapuncture, is how they described it back then, was part of our scope of practice. So if you can pull up that sunset evaluation report, it's on hawaii.gov under files, sunset evaluation report. It was a full review of an aquapuncture, QUA puncture was included in that as part of their review of what was allowed under our statutes. So we do have precedent saying that injection therapy, aquapuncture, is part of our scope of practice under 436D in that sunset evaluation.
So do you know what year that was
Yep.
taken out of?
Yep.
I think 1989. 1989.
I'm looking at it right here. It's 1984, report number 84-6, submitted by the legislative auditor of the state of Hawaii, report to the governor on scope of
but-
practice.
Candace was asking is if he remembered what year it was taken out of the statute.
1989.
But he was saying 1989.
1984. So when it comes
What do you-
out, it's, so.
What was taken out in?
The
89?
acupuncture, so maybe we need to do legislative research.
The,
We have the bill in 1989.
oh no, but I have the sunset adjustment.
1989. I'm saying in 1989, the legislation. Oh, no. Oh, no. We have the section on. Yeah.
Give me another sunset evaluation.
You have to see the day 436E was established. That's when the change occurred.
Okay, yeah, there was another one in 1987. 87-20. Maybe I pulled up the wrong one here. I'm not trying to do this on my phone.
But are you saying prior to 1985, it was a different statute?
Yeah.
I remember they did some kind of
There's a little note on the back of our 436E statutes. I don't claim to understand what that note means, but action taken by the board, which was established by chapter 436D prior to December 31st, 1984, remaining in full force and effect.
Yeah, 1984, section even established chapter prior to. Then I think they sunset that 436D and make a new one, 436E.
I think that note is just about board decisions. It's not about, right? It's not about the statute.
We had another sunset evaluation.
It says on page 3, for the purposes of this chapter, which is qualifications for examinations, meet requirements for examination and licensure as provided in chapter 436B. So it seems like parts of it were carried over into 436E.
What section are you reading? I'm sorry.
436E5, number 2. It's numbered right.
I think that applies to C above that, students who started training prior to December 31, 1984.
But the one right underneath it, number 2, it's still quoting 436D.
I think that's what existed in, like, prior to the 436E, right? And so they're not disqualifying people who met the requirements that were in place for 436.
Is for the qualifications for examination.
Yeah, it was like I guess it was like a transition.
So if I may, right, I got a case before, right? A practitioner here do injection therapy and went to the lawyers and went to court. And then what they say is that it is part of the traditional therapeutic means. The doctors from China learn it, you know, the way it was learned. And under your traditional therapeutic means, they were case closed. No case. Under traditional therapeutic means, he showed his certificate of training that he was trained to do injection therapy. It not happen. So if you have a case now, a consumer complain about an acupuncturist doing injection therapy, like for myself, if I do it, but I was trained, I show proof. There's no unprofessional conduct or anything like that. Record just throw it out because it's there. Your traditional therapeutic means it's a vague, big, you know, coverage for people. And then even the chiropractor one time sued the acupuncturist for spinal manipulation. Went to court, same thing. The practitioner said, I'm trained in bone setting. Bone setting is part of TCM or Chinese medicine. And then same thing, throw out of court, no case.
Okay, you're the law.
You're the law, man.
Where are we?
Sometimes be careful what we ask for here, you know. You don't need to do too much because you block yourself in, you lock yourself in already. Then you get hard time, you know.
There's a question whether we can keep that in there.
The acupuncture.
Tuesday has a comment.
She can.
I do. I appreciate you guys so much. And I have had the great pleasure of working with all of the people from all the states who are adding injection therapy. And one of the things that is encouraging people to add it to their scope of practice was a conversation I had with Marilyn Allen recently for the AAC. She runs a large malpractice company for acupuncturists. And she says, if it's named in your scope of practice, they will cover you. But if it's not, and you have a lawsuit, then you are not covered. And so while it's true, you might win the case if you argue it yourself, your malpractice company isn't going to cover it. But I do agree with what you said, Dr. Lowe, where a lot of states are saying, if it's in your training, you can practice it. So Florida, South Carolina, New Mexico, Montana, Washington, Nevada, Utah, Colorado, Maryland, Arizona. Florida is the only state that requires all of their license holders to be trained in injection therapy. All the others define it in rule and say that they need to have appropriate training in order to practice. And then if it's named in your statutes, that's when the malpractice insurance companies will cover it if there's a problem, because there is more training needed for injecting things. And I think it's interesting that Hawaii, you were probably one of the first to add it to your scope of practice. And at that time you could inject morphine, but that's not what acupuncturists are injecting now. It's saline, it's vitamins, it's nutraceuticals. The only pharmaceuticals acupuncturists are injecting are lidocaine and procaine, but they're all sterile substances. And just if you do add it and you choose to add it in rule, what I'll share with you, because there's been a group, a national group who's been working on this for 2 years. Florida says 60 hours of training is what is needed, but we asked teachers from all over the country who are teaching in all these states, and they determined that in order to practice injection therapy safely, practitioners, because it's not taught in schools, they need an additional 40 hours of training with a minimum of 16 hours hands-on. And Arizona was concerned about how to manage it. And that's why they asked the NCCAOM to create the certificate for injection therapy. And it's not a certification, it's a certificate because it's not required by ACOM. So it's not in schools, it's not being covered by the job task analysis. It's for licensed practitioners. And it's an assessment to ensure that safety, and again, that people understand the differences when we're injecting hypodermic needles and when we're injecting pharmaceuticals. They interact with the body differently than when we're taking them orally, and there are different risks because of the type of needles. But no one is, they're just defining injection therapy differently. It's not always defined under acupuncture, for what it's worth.
Thank you. So the question, it seems, is it in our statutes?
Because nursing has a broad scope where it doesn't define or pigeonhole the practice, like the licensees. It doesn't say you can only do these things. They follow the national standards. It's within their statute. You guys don't have that. So it's really whatever your definition of practice of acupuncture. So you don't have injection in your scope.
It just says inserting needles.
In the statute, yeah.
You would need to have a statutory change in order to allow for you guys to.
It does say or traditional therapeutic means, which speaks to what Wailo was talking about.
And also with what Wailo was talking about, usually it's defined in rule, not in the Practice Act in terms of traditional and injection therapy. A number of states add it in rule as their definition.
Right, but we have to have it in our statute in some form before we can add it as a rule.
I would say it is in your statute under that broader definition of other traditional therapeutic means.
There you go, Johnny. All right.
Yes, that's Joni. Hi.
I don't think so.
I have to divide that one. Agenda legislative research. Is that where we're at?
We've
Or
been trying to, but we cannot find,
Where you guys had that.
where you guys had that authority.
In because I'm looking at the sunset evaluation on the detailed and then they reintroduced it as 432. And I don't even see it.
it's, well, I copied it from the sunset review right here. The other forms of stimulation have also evolved in recent years, such as soniopuncture, photopuncture. Other forms of therapeutic acupuncture include the injection of sterile water, saline, procaine, morphine, or vitamins into acupuncture points, aquapuncture. The application of pressure, acupressure, and moxibustion. So I cut and pasted it from the sunset review.
I think what Candace had said earlier, that once they take it out, they took it out of the statute,
For a reason.
right? And when they got the new one, they didn't put it back. For a reason, Dr. Lowe says there was a reason why it wasn't put back.
Because the doctors objected.
But
Morphine.
This traditional therapeutic means that you mentioned is quite broad, and thus far,
We
your
like-
deputy
we
attorney,
like broad.
well, it's so broad that I don't, he hasn't
Well,
thus
it's
far
not-
been able to.
It's not that, that's the most concerning. I mean, I think it's more concerning that if it was in and it was taken out and never put back in, that suggests that it's not in the scope and it would have to be added back in some form.
Okay.
So that
In the
makes me
statute.
more hesitant.
In the statute.
The statute. Yeah.
So that's out then. Okay. So is that your ruling?
Right now, yeah.
So now does that mean we need to strike acupuncture injection therapy from our definitions?
I think we do right now.
If I may, if you leave it in there, what are the consequences?
Yes, because we had no objections actually to that.
Yeah, there's no
Right,
public
so-
hearing, nobody object
Yeah.
to it.
Well, you guys aren't objecting to it, but you need to have the statutory
Authority.
authority to, because then otherwise you're expanding your scope by rule, which is not allowed. You can clarify your statutes, which we were able to do for the rest of the additions that were added, but we were not able to justify expanding the scope to include acupuncture.
Johnny?
So I'm confused about what you're meaning by it was taken out, because I always thought it was under the other traditional therapeutic means. So
Well,
I don't
the-
see where it was ever specified and then taken out.
So the sunset review was 436D and that whole thing was repealed.
Which sunset review, the one from 84 or 87?
84.
My remembrance of that was it was the morphine part that they were pulling out, not the acupuncture, but just the fact that it was morphine. Wilo, you were here.
Yeah, I concur with you.
And that it still follows under our traditional therapeutic means as it is taught in schools and practiced around the world and now certified in. So I disagree. I think that you still have the statutory authority.
So we're still gonna rely on our advice from our advising Deputy Attorney General. So, I mean, we appreciate your comment.
But when you say as of now, does that mean you're gonna do further review and investigation?
I think for the purposes of these rules, I mean,
Yeah.
maybe for the next rule package, or the board may consider, or the association introducing a bill to address this.
And if it's addressed in that bill, then it can,
So if you can add it into your statute, then we can clarify it in rules in the next package.
Or put it in your statute.
Yeah, or just put it in your statute.
Right, then there would be no question, then there would be no question about it.
Because your statute is where you expand your practice, yeah, expand the scope of practice. And the statute is kind of old, yeah?
yes.
Very big.
And
Well,
so,
I love it. If nothing is broken, why fix it, right?
well, I mean, if your desire as an industry is to align yourself with national standards, then that's what your statute should do, is to expand your scope of practice to align with national standards. And then the rules clarify, right? You take things out and make it more clear, what applications, et cetera, what exams, et cetera, what.
Okay, so if you are saying about injection therapy cannot be under traditional therapeutic means, then so is herbal medicine. Because, in the rules here, the statute does not say herbal medicine in there. And herbal medicine right now is fall under traditional therapeutic means, which can be,
Herbal medicine in your previous,
not in the statute, I don't see it in the statute.
you already had it in your
That's
rule.
stated.
Yeah, you already had it in your rules, so you can clarify that further because it already existed there.
So back in the days when they put it in the rules, they based on the therapeutic, traditional therapeutic means as part of that umbrella to slide herbal medicine into the rules.
Yeah, How
Right.
did herbal medicine get in there if it's
Yeah,
not?
so it's the same concept and, the same kind of worms that crawl, that they opened back then and same like now we can do the same thing, right?
Well, you guys don't
If
strike.
they don't have the authority, what happens to their rules?
Why don't they just take time to look at it and
It would be there, but it would be should both. Subject challenge.
Tuesday has our hand up.
So she's able to speak if it's a word for herself.
Thank you so much. I don't want to interrupt you. I had a question about expanding by rule versus clarifying by rule, because when I moved to Colorado, PTs added dry needling to their scope of practice by rule. And so I guess I was confused when you said you can't add things to your scope by rule. In this case, it sounds like you'd be clarifying as a traditional practice and explaining the definition of acupuncture injection therapy. But I guess I just didn't understand the comment about why it couldn't go through rule.
Well, the 16 -72-2 objective, this chapter is intended to clarify and implement chapter 436E. So I understand that the statement on the table now from some in the room is that it can be understood that it is in there based on that traditional therapeutic, but the advising Deputy Attorney General has not yet agreed with that statement. And he is here to advise the board on their laws and rules.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
So Chris, are we done with that conversation? We are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything else?
Nope.
Oh, so then your decision at this time that is, we need to strike this definition from the definitions.
Can you give us a little time? We can find more.
Then we're gonna hold up the rules process.
I know.
It's what you guys wanna do. I mean,
No.
you wanna wait.
I didn't mean that.
If we leave it in there, then probably you think the worst case scenario is somebody will sue the board or something. Probably,
It can be challenged.
Yeah.
and then if it's challenged, then we go back and erase it. You know?
Yeah, you should have your authority before you put it in there.
Oh. You cannot test the water.
Did the board want to talk about any other issues with the rules? Okay, so what we have right now is striking acupuncture injection therapy, changing the definition under acupuncture medicine to lifestyle and dietary consult. Also using that same term under lifestyle and dietary consult. And then all the rest is as written. Sorry.
If you're taking out AIT, you need to change, alter the definition and anticipation of a statute say, to state hollow and solid, or to define the needle, or to define injection definitions? That need to be, should that be addressed now in anticipation of a statute? I know that was the EO's concern, right? Hollow, solid, or no, the injection, the needle itself.
Under acupuncture needle, it's on page 72-5, the FDA approved class 2 medical device. With a sterile filiform needle of various lengths, gauges, tapered to a.
But that's the old one, right? That's not the
No,
current.
that's the new one.
You said filiform. I just thought it was just needle.
No, it says a
That's-
sterile.
That says that under the statutes.
Oh, okay.
So the statute do not define an acupuncture needle, right?
Yeah, doesn't.
It doesn't. You guys define the acupuncture needle.
Sorry, I'm just throwing that in there for, if we plan to bring it in, then we should take a look at that now with these rules. If that doesn't hold up the rule.
I mean, I
Well,
think you can.
Yeah, I think it's fine the way that it is. If you're gonna go for a statutory change, you might wanna just put it in there instead of clarifying it in the rule. And as is.
We're doing a clarifying what a needle is, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean.
So the other one was because you're adding the herbal medicine exam, or I don't know what the exam name is. Yeah. So for 167220, you're supposed to amend and clarify that every person seeking a license to practice acupuncture and herbal medicine or wishing to use.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, we're striking acupuncture or. Yeah. So those are the only 3 changes, right? Yeah. I move that we go ahead with the rules as they've been revised. John. Oh, no, I don't. What part don't you like?
Injection stuff being pulled out after we've had it in for years and years and years and years. And then all of a sudden we're down to the last second.
Well, we haven't had it for years. The current statute went into effect in what?
No, but I mean, like, we've been working on this for
That's
5 years, right? Why hasn't this come up earlier than that, is my point. I guess,
Well, I mean,
I agree.
the good news is statutory amendments are a little bit faster than rule amendments. So I mean, it's a legislative session, right? So it's like 4 or 5 months, whereas this is like, it could take years. So the quicker way to, and the correct way would be to put it in your statute.
Didn't your association have a bill? Recently, right?
In 2022, you folks had a bill, yeah? And I think that's what these rules are based off of, right? You folks were on.
That
The
legislation,
bill died.
yeah.
At the end.
Are you guys having any
We are talking about sponsoring a bill, but we want to take section by section slowly, not the whole big change that will probably DOA now. But we're talking about just section 1 now to include us as essential healthcare providers under the section 1, 436E, 436E, section 1.
Declaration of necessity for regulation and control.
Yeah, so, our association basically thinking that if we are classified as essential healthcare providers, then we would have a better chance of in emergency cases able to travel like the COVID during that time, and help people out. And also probably, for student loan forgiveness, sometimes it applies when you are essential health provider, you go for non-profit for 5-10 years, and they can get their student loan forgiven. So that's one thing that we were considering, just section by section, going year by year. Yeah.
But these rules were written based on the current statutes.
Some of the recommendations for these rules were based on that bill that didn't go through in 2022. There were amendments to clarify things that you
Do you think
anticipated.
the association would be willing to introduce a separate bill? So if you have two vehicles, your current issue would be separate from the injection issue, and to get that into their scope so that they can practice it, because you feel that it's part of their scope. I mean, if the association can do that, then that would be.
But the bottom line is that if the association were to sponsor a bill in the legislature, at the end of the day, DCCA does not, they support it, but they say they want money to get it done. At the last bill, that's what happened. They put a $70,000 tack on it at the last hearing and killed the bill. So it's like giving us a stab in the back. DCCA is like, first they say, yeah, we support you, Then at the end, when we have the last hearing, we need money from the state.
Okay, because that probably would have required us to do something.
It was the CEU management.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So
the
anything that you add, because we're self-sufficient, we get our funding from your fee. And that's why anytime you add anything in, we gotta charge the license fee.
Well, they should have told us earlier on when we started that bill.
I could interject. So I believe that was erroneous information, because the way we've got this set up is the NCCAOM is the one that does the certification for the CEUs. It's not something that has to be done locally. If we get our recertification through NCCAOM, that certifies that we've done the CEUs that we've agreed to. But regardless.
But you still have to show that to us, right? So that we can.
We did. There was
So
yeah.
there is some, yeah.
That was just one letter, for or against. It was one comment. I don't know that that's what actually killed it, but.
I mean,
I went through all the hearing, and at the end, we were like 99% sure the bill will pass, but they didn't have a conference hearing at the end, the last week of legislative session at that time, and my colleagues were happy, celebrating, and say, hold on.
were you guys agreeable to the fee?
What?
Well, we even say that the $70,000 that you guys need, we will donate to you guys. But then they say, no, you can't do that.
Oh, no, you can't donate it, but I mean, like, we would collect it from the licensee. But if you guys were in favor of it, I don't know what killed the bill. I'm sorry, I don't have the history.
I don't either.
Yeah, so
But
we
we,
out until,
But-
unless he changes his mind.
To get back on track here. That's okay. So the assistant AG or deputy AG says that our statutes do not allow us to add injection therapy at this time.
Under any traditional therapeutic need.
Right.
Okay.
So.
Well, we can go with.
No, I'm waiting for her to second. Carrie.
Sherry, you can.
I
They're not
second.
seconded. I
sorry, I was muted.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye. Aye.
I have to say I don't I?
No, you can say no. We'll say no.
They'll pass this without your vote.
Right, so I'll say no.
All right.
You made the motion though, right?
No.
I made it. So.
Okay, these new rules are passed. New changes.
Okay, now what happens?
Now we're on B. Now it goes to.
Now we're on
For signature, We have to just
It has to be,
You have to make these fixes.
Yeah.
And then once we've gotten that final version with these fixes, then we send it forth for signatures. Still gonna go small business,
Yeah.
small business, sorry, small business, my bad.
Board again.
Again,
Okay,
yeah, before and after, yeah.
okay, you did that meeting.
So it takes a minute, but it shouldn't take 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, well,
Yes,
think by the end of the year?
Probably not by the end of the year. I don't know. Yeah, he does have to review again.
and then, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, let's run on to number B, delegation to executive officer. So my understanding is that there are a couple of executive officers down and we're looking for ways to streamline our process. Meeting less often, the BCD. All right, so B, delegation to the executive officer. So this, the form that you all got.
So the board is welcome to amend the list of conditions. This is just suggestion and what other boards have approved for delegation to EOs. You don't have to agree to all of it. You guys can strike it. But it's basically yes answers to convictions so that it doesn't have to wait for the board approval.
Can I ask, what is the difference between B and C? So there's delegation to executive officer and then delegation to board member.
Okay, so that one is for, so that's the next agenda item. So it's for a licensed board member to, basically the same thing, we would be delegating one of the licensed board members and you guys would, appoint somebody. And they would be able to approve like prior disciplinary actions. So, these are suggested ones that you, and it'd be at their discretion. If they have any conflict or if they feel like they want the board to review it, then they can punt it back to the board.
And on the first one, the prior conviction, I'm kind of, I don't know.
So we have a couple of concerns. So a license was issued to someone who did not have their test scores in,
That's an inadvertent mistake. Yeah.
certainly, but the more eyes you have on something, the less chance of those mistakes happening.
That
So
is true.
that's the only reason I'm bringing it up.
I have a problem with anything that relates to alcohol.
Okay.
Um,
So we can take off those if you feel uncomfortable with the alcohol related offenses, that's fine.
So it doesn't mean they get a pass.
No,
So they have to have only one conviction on their record. No, it's not a felony. They have complied with all the requirements, so the executive officers will still ask that they submit all the court documentation, all the verification, they've paid their fines, their fees, if they're required to go through any counseling or any therapy, the verification they've completed that. And it's not related to the performance as an acupuncture practitioner or an acupuncture intern. So, if they were speeding while going from, an acupuncture site to another acupuncture, something like that, it's something we might bring to the board because it might be directly related to, I don't know.
Or they practice
we have
inebriated.
Or
reviewed-
or they
yeah.
practice inebriated.
Reviewed those
Yeah,
cases, so speeding.
right, so.
Safely and change kind of thing.
So for example, if there was anything that related there to the acupuncture, we bring it to the board still. But if it's related on their own time, on a weekend, they were not practicing, it was not in between practicing, it'd be something that if you wanted us to review and make sure they submitted all the required documentation, that we could approve it.
would you do that though? That's the question.
Would we approve it?
No, would you do a real extensive study of what their issues were before you would approve it?
Yes.
Because it needs to be documented to their file. So the predictions, we look for whatever the court ordered, them to do to resolve it, then we put all of that in their license file. And then the last one is the conviction is not within 5 years of the date of application. So it's not like something that might have happened recently, it's like 5 years.
Okay, so, all right.
But if you, you can strike it. We're not saying you can't strike it. Whatever you don't feel comfortable delegating to the EO, you can strike it. Or you can add
Great, so you see
What
minor.
about traffic violations and tickets? Is
I don't
there
have any
anything on
problem
that?
with what's on the first page.
Okay.
I have a problem with all the stuff that's related to alcoholism.
You,
Or the
DUIs,
The DUIs, the driving with a
The open container.
and if it happened more than 5 years ago and there was no other conviction between then and now. Because that's the scenario we're looking at right
Yeah,
now.
there's a lot of times where you have like adults who might have made indiscretions when they were teenagers or when they were young adults in twenties, but then they're now licensed practitioners in their forties and there was no recidivism.
You can still say no, we're
Yeah,
just
I
giving
mean,
scenarios
yeah,
that we
that's
come
okay.
across.
But yeah,
We've seen all of them.
What shall we strike?
Decision.
we apologize. That's a lot to put on one agenda, so.
So what's up is, hey, we can use this, or hey, no.
Oh, so this is.
Yes, use it, or no, use it.
Well, you can strike some of them.
Which parts of it?
If
But
you,
not all of it. We couldn't say, we're not gonna use this at all.
if you want to see but this leads back to another agenda item, which is the board schedule. Folks are only going to meet 4 times. That holds up an application. Now, the applicant has to wait 3 months to be heard by the board if they had a DUI 15 years ago and hasn't had anything since.
You guys want to defer?
Do you want to defer this matter to the next meeting?
Good idea. Oh, no, you don't want to? You
I
ready
think
to
that
make
might be a good
decisions?
idea, and then we can think about it.
Okay, that's fine.
And rather than hemming and hawing right now.
That's fine.
And then we can decide, you can specifically decide which things you want crossed and la la
If you want to
la.
add anything.
Or we can add.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's take off, yeah.
See the Rico thing on here.
Yes, it is, chapter 91. Okay, you want to defer the delegation to board member 2 then?
I don't know, we don't want to know. what
You
we
guys
want
can
to
think
do.
about it.
You're just tired out.
This one, we do need the legislative liaison. As you know, the legislative session is fast and crazy. So, they have hearings between our meetings. And would you like to designate a liaison, one of you, to provide positions and testify on legislative proposal? Yes. Who would that?
You.
I'm no acupuncturist.
Great.
I'll be the alternate.
Okay.
If she can't be there. Or you need us both. I'm just here to go by myself.
I'll go prop you up.
Yeah, okay.
Your board meeting schedule is also there. February 13th will be your first meeting, April 10, July 10, October 9.
That's almost 3 months.
Yeah, so I'm so sorry. We are spread very thin. We lost 2 executive officers within 2 weeks. So we're all taking on additional board program. We're down about 6 secretaries. So we're past max capacity of what we're able to
So
do.
you're saying this is what we're doing? You're not looking for input
No,
from us?
no,
Okay.
no. But if we do have to move a meeting, we'll be sure to ask you folks before we move it for any reason, if there's a conflict in the schedule.
Okay, recess.
This last item, we want to recess into
Executive session.
no, adjudicatory, chapter 91.
What is that? And that doesn't have to be done in executive session?
This
Oh,
is
it's
in recess. We recess from the public meeting
Ah,
and,
yes.
yeah, so.
So we're gonna excuse everybody.
We're gonna ask you to.
Oh, we're leaving already. We're not gonna stay.
Come back if you want.
Yeah, so-
It's the last one.
Thank you.
It is,
Not
it
licensed.
is like, it's licensed, it's clean, but it's no.
Sorry, we're back.
I'll tell you later.
No frills.
No frills.
All right, welcome back, everybody.
Okay, welcome back. We are now on the agenda number 5. After discussion, the board has voted to approve the settlement agreement that WISO has suggested, proposed. Okay, and then number 6, our next meeting. Thursday, February 13th at 1 o'clock. Okay, this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, everyone.